Hi, it's your girl Sherilyn, and you're watching Sweep the League on Alamo City Podcast Network.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League.
Yeah, with a rather late start today. Again, apologies on my end. The computer was acting up, and happens. Part of podcasting, you get issues that come up and arise. So we're not going to waste any time today. It's Rudy Campos Jr. Going to be joined by Coach Gio. We're going to be talking some NFL talk. Now, I'll give you some reminders here as soon as Gio gets on here. But we will be coming tomorrow with Derek Gervin. Thursday, we got a special show. Again, Friday, we're going to end the week Flashback Friday with Derek Gervin as well. So be sure to tune in the rest of the week here at Sweep the League, all a part of the Alamo City Podcast Network. Let's bring in Gio here. Gio, what's going on, bro?
Not much. It says your name is Joe Garcia.
Oh, yeah, it does. Why don't we change that? Oops.
You look real different, Joe.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I think we forgot to change that earlier, but we can fix that 100%.
Well, I just thought it was funny. That's all.
There we go. How do we like that? How do we like that, man? Yeah, technical difficulties, man. It tends to happen every now and then. Computers just kind of lagging and stuff. But man, we talked yesterday, Derek and I. We had a lot of flashback talking the vault and all that stuff. Did we talk a little bit about that? Because I know you had mentioned something earlier about wanting to talk, about some of the stuff that came up yesterday. I'm trying to go through it. Oh, the Bulls talk. Luke Longley, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant going on the No Bull Tour is what it's called, I believe. And you had some thoughts on that. I mean, basically, we said it was like kind of like a money grab for these guys. I mean, Derek is saying that you're talking about Michael Jordan, the guy that put Horace Grant, Luke Longley on the map. And I mean, Scottie, as good of a player as he is, I mean, definitely Hall of Famer, but I mean, Jordan kind of put him on the map as well. But Pippen made a really good point in a way. Well, good point, I guess. I don't know if you want to say it's a great point or not, but I mean, Jordan and him started winning when Scottie got there. So I don't know how much to read into this No Bull Tour, but I know you had some stuff you wanted to talk about as far as that goes.
Look, it takes a team, right? So sure, Jordan needed more pieces to win an NBA championship, but let's not be mistaken who the main guy was, and that was Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He was the one that won 6 MVPs, scoring titles. He also won a Defensive Player of the Year, one of the great defenders in his era as well. I don't know what the hell Scottie. Look, he's saying that he wasn't portrayed very well in The Last Dance, right? This and that. Jordan was the one who signed that contract, Rudy, right? Yeah. It wasn't Michael Jordan. It wasn't Jordan who decided not to go into a game when Tony Kukoc was getting the ball and not Scottie, right? There are some number of things that we can talk about that Scottie, I don't know what's wrong with him, and Luke Longley.
Well, of all people, Luke Longley's the one that
Luke Longley. Luke, no disrespect, man. But you got those championships because of Michael Jordan. And Horace Grant wasn't even part of the last three-peat, so I don't even know why he's here. I know Horace and him didn't have a great relationship, Rudy, but I just don't understand. What are you going to say, Rudy, that Michael Jordan wasn't a nice guy? Okay.
But who had a good relationship with Mike?
Who had a good relationship? He fought teammates, Rudy. He was gambling on Lord knows what he was gambling on, right? Yeah. There's so many different things. He was not a good teammate. He played a lot of mind games with his teammates. But at the end
of the day, these guys are known because of Michael Jordan. I mean, there's no reason to do this tour. There's no reason to spill the beans or anything like that.
Oh, what?
The Last Dance was about Mike.
Was about Mike.
It's literally about Mike.
It wasn't the last. It wasn't titled The Last Contract, and it was about Scottie Pippen, right? Like, it was about Michael Jordan. And look, to Michael's credit, Rudy, he did say Pippen was a great teammate. Yeah. He did. One of his most important teammates was Scottie Pippen. And I'm not saying that Luke Longley and Horace Grant didn't play a part in those championships, but really, I'd like to talk about roles, right? Back in the day, everyone knew their role. Jordan was the big dog. Scottie was a Batman. There's nothing wrong with that. But for Scottie to also say in his book that he wants to be remembered as the greatest, where did this come from, Rudy? Where is this? I'm sorry. You're not going to tell me something that I either don't know or am I surprised by because it's Michael Jordan. What is he going to say? That Michael was the Antichrist? I don't know what else you're going to tell us.
There's nothing that Scottie or Horace. I don't even. Why do we even talk about Luke Longley?
I don't understand, Rudy. I just don't get. Listen, Jordan won you championships. You're going to talk bad about someone who was the driving force of an NBA championships, give you money and all that. I mean, Rudy, I just don't get what it is.
You see this type of behavior from past teammates on even opposite teams. Steven Jackson, Robert Horry, when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, Robert has over the years. He always likes to say Hakeem was way better than Tim Duncan. And look, he played with Hakeem. He won championships with Hakeem. And look, me and you really would say Hakeem's an all-time great player. And if you want to say Hakeem was better than Duncan, I have no ill with saying it. But Robert seems to really love saying it. And the way it comes out is not something that I really like. Steven's been another one over the years.
Steven Jackson has no titles without a Tim Duncan.
And though I will say, though, Steven's relationship with Timmy, from what I've heard, is actually pretty good. Steven talks about stories about Duncan. Duncan's one of those figures, really, that's kind of like, he's off to the side. He's not really in the limelight. But really, it would be cool to get stories from Tim Duncan, right? Like, that would actually be something that would be really interesting. But Timmy's not really, talking about that. But Jackson's gripe with, Tony Parker when he came out on Kawhi. Yeah. Steven's always talked about things, but I just don't get it, Rudy. What is this? And Rudy, do you know where this tour is going to be held, by the way?
Isn't it Europe?
It's in Australia.
Or Australia? Yeah, somewhere over there.
Rudy.
They don't have enough balls to bring it to, to America where the Last Dance was, the Bulls are. And when I said Steven Jackson, I'm not talking necessarily Timmy. I'm talking the gripe that Jax had with Manu, with
Pop
Tony,
too.
Pop.
Pop.
I mean, these guys are the reason why. I mean, you didn't see Steven Jackson with the exception of one quarter against the Mavericks, I believe, where he just turned it up in the fourth quarter.
I mean
he was a role player.
Yeah, but he had some good seasons, Rudy. I think he was a good player. Mm-hmm. Do I think could Steven Jackson could have been more? I think he could have. But look, he said he's a way better player than Manu Ginobili. Look, Manu came off the bench predominantly in his career, and Manu knew his role, right? He knew what he was supposed to do. Could Manu average more, Rudy, on a different team? I think we could say, yeah. I think we could say Manu on a different team could have put up more points, but that's not what the Spurs needed, right? So, but Steven...
Man, I totally disrespected Ginobili one time, and I didn't disrespect him it wasn't, a purposely disrespect. It wasn't even an accidental disrespect. It was kind of the way it is. And what I did say about Manu, and again, it probably would piss off Spurs fans left and right, but again, it's how you take the narrative. It's like the Jimenez thing. It's how you take it, it is. But I remember I made a comment, and I believe it was on Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia when I had mentioned the fact that, I think we were talking about Wemby. Is he going to be the GOAT of the Spurs? And I had said that, it just depends on what he accomplishes. For me, if he goes on a 20-year plus playoff win, playoff appearance stuff, then I'm thinking, okay, we're going to start to see Wemby become the GOAT. And I can start putting him in that category. Jeff's like back-to-back, all this stuff. No. But on the Manu talk, he said, will he be better than Manu and Tony? And I'm thinking, yes, I can easily say Wemby will probably end up being better than Manu and Tony. I really do. So that'll catapult him. So now, before you go on, let me finish. Before you go on, the reason why I bring up Manu is because I said Manu, as great of a player as he was a Hall of Famer before he got to San Antonio because of what he did internationally. But Manu was Spurs fan driven. In other words, he had so much love, so much hype, so much everything because Spurs fans helped him catapult him into that kind of limelight. If he was here in the NBA playing for Detroit, you would have seen, him probably averaging 20. He would have been talked about. He would have been, one of the great players in the game, but probably, a very, very all-star level player in the NBA. But it seemed like to me, Spurs fans catapulted Ginobili to that next height when it came to NBA lure. And that was the comment I basically made. And I had some people say that was disrespectful to Manu. And I'm like, I don't see how it's disrespectful. I mean, outside of San Antonio, is Manu going to be talked about as much as he is around the league? It's hard to say.
Look, I think Manu, it's probably more fandom, right, Rudy? I mean, just the lure, right? I mean,
yeah.
the things he would do during games when he, took that bat, he threw it or whatever the hell he did. Like,
stuff the bat out. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There's so many things that we could talk about Manu. There's a story that I remember hearing from Skip Bayless, he's called himself the unofficial mayor of San Antonio in the past. But Skip once said during the Olympics, when I think it was was it 08 where they had all those stars come back, LeBron, D Wade. I think that was
probably was 08.
I think it was 08, and Skip Bayless said that he talked to Dwayne Wade, or he had maybe heard, or I think he was speaking to D Wade, that D Wade was upset because apparently there was a scouting report, Rudy, that I said that Manu Ginobili was the second best two guard in the National Basketball Association. And D Wade was pissed. He was pissed off. But that just shows you, Rudy, what Manu could have maybe been, even in NBA terms here, like in the States per se. I think he was on a different team and his stats would have been better. But I think you're right, though. San Antonio, the fandom, because Rudy, let's be honest, towards the end of his run, it wasn't very good. And I remember in that 2013 NBA Finals, Rudy, Manu had a terrible series.
Yeah.
I mean, he missed free throws along with Kawhi down the stretch of that game, but he was just terrible. I thought he should have retired after 2013 because it was bad. It was not a good series for Manu. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at the tape. So he ended up lasting obviously longer than that. But look, I just feel like this whole back to the Jordan thing, Rudy, it doesn't make any sense. I just don't think it's going to end well. And I just find it very just comical to me that Scottie Pippen, no disrespect, probably one of the great Batmans, Rudy, of all time, right? I mean, you could say he's probably not the best or one of the top 5, co-host. But MJ's the GOAT. I'm sorry, Rudy. You can't. Watching The Last Dance, Rudy, just put a final stamp. I mean, just to fathom. I mean, Larry Bird called him what? Jesus in disguise. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I just have a hard time. What else are you going to tell me about MJ that I probably don't even already know?
It's ego driven, dude. I mean, it's ego driven. You're an NBA player. Okay, great. I'm an NBA player. I'm 12th man. I'm Jack Haley. I'm Brian Scalabrine. That's who I am. But I'm an NBA player, so I can walk into the West Side YMCA on Reese Street, on the west side of San Antonio, Rosedale Park area, and dominate that league. Why? Because I'm an NBA player. But then you get to the guys that are 6-man, first one's off the bench, this and that. Well, okay, now you're getting a little bit bigger ego because you're getting playing time. Now you're a starter. Then you go to second fiddle, a la Scottie Pippen. You think that because you've won titles, because you are on the original Dream Team and you're considered one of the best in the league. When I say perennial all-star, you're going to be making all-star after all-star, that you feel you're better than Mike, Gio. That's Scotty's talk. He thinks he's better than Mike because of what he's accomplished in the NBA, but he doesn't accomplish it. You saw what he accomplished without Mike.
Well, look, he did get them to the playoffs, right? They ended up playing the Knicks, and sure, the game probably could have went 7, but a lot of things happened. They didn't end up winning that series. But look, I'll give Scotty this. I think they won 55 games, Rudy, if I'm not mistaken, on that team. So that's pretty good. I'm like, that's actually a really good season, but you didn't get to the championship, right? The Rockets ended up winning. And then obviously the Rockets won the following year, but I just don't get the idea that he wants, Rudy said he wants to be known as the greatest of all time.
That's what I'm saying. It's ego driven. And I don't know.
Ego driven. And I don't know if it's because Michael Jordan's son is dating Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. It's some crazy stuff, Rudy. It's like stuff for theater. But
man, that's a terrible look, in my opinion. But
it's a terrible look. But I'm pretty sure, Rudy, when Mike found out, he probably started laughing.
Yeah, it's like on the Last Dance where he's got the iPad or whatever. He looks and he just starts laughing at it. I mean, that's probably what ended up happening.
And it's funny about that clip because I saw that clip. Listen, I thought Gary Payton was a great defender, Rudy. But come on, Mike just had to laugh, and I honestly just laughed again. Don't get me wrong, Gary Payton, the glove, one of the great point guard defenders of all time. But come on, Gary, come on.
I know, man. And Johnson here, it's not like Jordan was an all-star in Washington. Didn't Jordan make the all-star team when he was in Washington?
And I think that's what he's trying to. I think that's what he's trying to say.
I mean,
look. Yeah. We saw Scotty with the Rockets, Rudy, right? Rudy, what's funny? That's probably the real first dream team, right? Like the first, like
it was him, Barkley, Drexler, and Olajuwon. I mean, obviously at the end of their careers, but I mean,
yeah. So that didn't work out very well. I think they lost in the first round to the Lakers, and then what? I will say this already: if Scotty wins a championship with the Blazers, and they were close, they were close. I mean, they were up on the Lakers. 15 points, and crazy about that series, right? Not to go back in time.
That was conspiracy time, wasn't it?
So Blazers, Lakers. Listen, those Blazers teams with Scottie Pippen, right? Rudy, Sabonis, Detlef. I think Detlef Schrempf was on that team. Steve Smith was on that team. That was a really good team. Yeah. Well, so some weird stuff happens on that series. Steve Smith's talked about it over the years. Some calls that should have happened. But Phil Jackson, apparently in the huddle where he says, look, hey, Shaq, Kobe, it was a good offseason. I'll see you next year. You know what I'm saying? Rudy, if that doesn't work out, it's possible they break up. It's very possible that they may break up after that series. And I'm just saying this to everyone who's listening. If after that Portland series, the Blazers go on to play the Pacers, I like Portland's chances against Reggie and the Pacers. If they break up, does Duncan have more rings, Rudy? Does Duncan have maybe at least one more championship ring if the Lakers break up?
Yes, I think so. Man, but you're going into a whole Spurs lore of what ifs, because if you think about the successful playoff runs to the conference championships, even to the finals, I mean, you can easily say if 0.4 doesn't happen, they win that series.
If Manu doesn't foul Dirk.
If Manu doesn't foul Dirk, they probably go on and win another title. And then if Ray Allen doesn't hit that corner three, I mean, you're talking an additional 3 titles where you're putting Timmy as in
time,
Lord, like all time, not just in.
No, I know. I mean, he's probably. I mean, look, they're gonna play the Sixers, Rudy. I like the Spurs' chances. I'm sorry, Mutombo, you're not going to dunk.
There's no way the Sixers beat really anybody in the West.
Yeah. So now the Spurs would probably. That Kings team was good, Rudy. And that 04 Pistons team would give the Spurs all. I mean, we saw the 05 Pistons team, Rudy. But that 04 Pistons team, that defense was just suffocating. So that would have been an interesting series to watch.
I would have thought that would have probably, you know what, I'm going to be flat out on this. I think that would have probably been their toughest championship run in the finals. Was that 04 Pistons team?
Yeah. That would have been a tough. I'm not saying Spurs couldn't have won, but the Pistons were rolling, and what they did to the Lakers, Rudy, was pretty impressive. I think one of the biggest, I want to say upsets in NBA Finals history, Rudy, but going into that series, as a high school or probably middle school, I thought the Pistons ain't got no damn chance against Shaq.
It was Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton. I mean, you would think, but again, I hate to point, but it said, well, they were in the twilight of their career. I mean, the Pistons weren't exactly barn burners either. You only had Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace towards the end. If he had a few years left in him. Rip Hamilton was Rip Hamilton, but he wasn't anything that Kobe wouldn't have been able to compete with. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Chauncey was also there, and look, Chauncey had some big games. That Eastern Conference, Rudy, that stretch with the New Jersey Nets, man, those some good games.
It would be boring basketball today.
Yeah, no, it would be considered boring ball, but shout out to those 04 Pistons, man. That was a good team.
Yeah, that was a really good team. Jeff Garcia is in here, man. He's bringing up a point that we're going to be talking about here, and it's kind of taboo-ish, to talk about Spurs Twitter. But Jeff brings it on, so we're going to talk about it here. This is Sweep the League again. Late start today. Just had some computer issues, but shit happens like that from time to time during podcasts. Jefferson here, Rudy, Angie. Can you talk about why San Antonio fans are so divided? Civil war daily. And have literally threatened to fight in person. Why is it like this, man? When you're losing and you are a diehard fan, and when I say diehard, you bleed silver and black or, gold and blue or whatever you bleed. Losing really pisses people off to the point of no return, man. And it's sad. It's so sad. I mean, it's just a game, guys. It's just a game. And I'd like to say this a lot. I love, I'm still pissed off at the 28-3 debacle in the Super Bowl. I've gotten over it, and you know what? I move on. But to get sometimes where it's like you want to fight somebody, you want to throw down, wherever, I don't know, but it's losing, dude. People don't want to lose, but at the end of the day, it's a game, brother. It's a game. And if they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. Guess what? They don't know who the F you are. So do you think they really care why you're fighting?
Rudy, you're so right on this. Look, the 2013 NBA Finals is probably one of the worst, probably a lot of Spurs fans, right? One of the worst nights of my life. Like, especially game 6, right? And then point 4 was bad, but that took the cake. But look, I don't live in San Antonio, Rudy, so I have an interesting perspective because I'm from the outside, right? I don't live there. I'm not eating breakfast tacos every morning. I'm not a quote-unquote poor like some of our, fellow podcasters have said about the city. our comrade. And so, look, Spurs fans, it's okay. It's okay to suck. Listen, 5 NBA championships. A few years ago, Rudy, I said in my mind, I'm okay with losing. It's not acceptable. No. I hate losing, but you've come to the idea that this Spurs team was not going to be very good for a while. Now, obviously, they hit the jackpot with Wemby, and hopefully in the next few years, they can continue to grow this team. But look, you're bad. You're going to get a top 5, probably top 3 lottery pick, and it is what it is. Stop fighting about it. Stop fighting about it every day in the streets. Look.
Dude, they even fight about who to take in the draft. Like, again, nobody listens to anybody on social media, period. I mean, even players don't listen to players. They get disrespected. They don't give a shit. They say something back and they clap back. But when it comes to your average fan, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Who cares? You and I care because we're a part of the average fan and the social media, revolution. Yeah. That's who cares. We talk about it.
We put things in perspective, Rudy. I think there's always a way to look at things. Listen, fighting, getting drunk about a loss, and Lord knows what you're doing over there in San Antonio. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You still have to wake up in the morning, go to work, right? Well, for some people, make a living and get through life. Spurs basketball, look, that's probably the least of your concerns. But look, we agree though, Rudy. They need to get better though. In the next few years, we need to see an uptick in performance because having 11, Rudy, was it 11 wins right now? I mean, that's bad.
Hey
I
man,
mean,
when they drafted Wimby, you heard media people at that, talking about, oh, this is a Spurs team that's going to make the playoffs. You know what? Worst case scenario is they're going to make the play-in game. And I still say to this day, who in the F on this roster pre-Wimby made you stop and think, okay, these same guys are going to make a play-in team? They couldn't
no,
even get
I
to
never.
23 wins or whatever.
I thought potentially. I thought before the season, Rudy, 20 wins, and right now they could still get there.
I give him
It's gonna be
22. You're being
it's
way
gonna
worse than I am. I'm being
it's gonna be a little difficult. But Rudy, I'm telling you what, when I went to that game, guys jacking up shots, doing whatever they want, just another guy on the team. Everyone's playing for themselves. Wemby should touch the ball if he's in the game, he should touch the ball every time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is really no mistake about it. He should touch every time. And at this point, there's stretches where he don't even touch the ball. So
Yeah. See, Tim's gonna get over the Tar Heels beating the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, we beat them all the time, Gio. You should be able to get used to it.
Well,
it's
I do
actually a
feel
lot
like
closer. It's a lot closer than people think. It's like
it's a lot closer, but to me, so Rudy, I know 28-3 is probably it's probably, the NBA Finals. At least there was one game. You know what? Like Ray Allen, there was still one more game, right? There's still one more game.
Yes, there's one more game, but Ray Allen doesn't hurt as much because that is a shot that goes in. Okay, if it doesn't, Spurs are winning, again. They win another title. 28-3 is the absolute collapse in the Super Bowl where that shot by Ray Allen is a field goal by the New England Patriots to make it 28-6, and that's it. I mean, that shot by Ray Allen doesn't hurt me as much as blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl with a quarter and a half left. That is
that's probably the. I mean, like I said, point. 4. Also, Georgia losing to Alabama in overtime when Tua I thought he was going to get sacked. He stops, throws a touchdown. That was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
The Mariners, they put freaking Robbie Ray in a game against Jordan, and the rest is history. Mariners get swept. So there are a lot of different things.
Villanova with the buzzer beater against Carolina in the championship game. That was another.
I remember that. Man, that was
another heartbreaker.
So real quick, what did you when that went when he took the shot? What did you think? Did you have a sinking feeling, or you're like, man, that's kind of far?
I had a feeling that was going in. I saw it go up, and I thought, knowing my luck, I'm sure God has vendetta on me left and right, so he's just gonna break my heart one more time, and sure enough, it happened. So Villanova, Carolina, that loss was a tough one. It's probably third, probably on my list. I think Ray Allen still takes number 2, but it's 28-3. And then it's Ray Allen and everything else. Like that's that much of a gap for me.
No, yeah. No, I mean,
and Jeff's right, man. I did, it says it is true. Rudy called a bad season before the regular season started. I was saying that all summer. I was like, even when the Spurs won the lottery, I mean, there was no way Victor was going to come in here and break it an 18-game or 20-game difference. I mean, there's just no absolute way.
It's a different NBA, Rudy. Derek's talked about, and there's no veterans on not just this team, Rudy.
On a lot of teams.
Every team in the NBA should have at least one veteran, like at least one veteran guy to help with these players transition from the college game, just NBA life in general. But really, when David Robinson came in, who did he have? I mean, that was a veteran, some older guys, some young guys as well. I mean, I think Terry Cummins was on that team. I mean, you had guys that have been, they're NBA players, right? Like Duncan comes in, you have Vinny Delagro was there, obviously David, Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott, a cast of other guys. It's just Wimpy comes in, Rudy, and you got Zach Collins. Like it's like, what, really?
Wemby comes into the veterans being Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. I
Yeah.
mean, Trey Jones, who's a veteran, but he's young. I mean, you're coming into a veteran league where my 23-year-old NBA, teammate is a 3-year vet, a 2-year vet. I mean, it doesn't really work out that way for you these days. You got to go get, and Spurs can't say, well, we signed Chetty Osman. We have Devontae Graham. You have vets, but
Rudy, why do you think that's happening? Why do you think the NBA now is essentially getting rid of your quote unquote true, those I mean, look at Kevin Willis played for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dominique was wearing did he play on the Spurs?
Mm-hmm. It was
Like,
the year Robinson got hurt. And still averaged 20 points a game.
You had guys, Jerome Kersey, right? A lot of guys playing to their later years. We don't get that anymore. These guys, what happens, Rudy, is they go off to play overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys now play overseas, and rightly so. But these teams, they had no veteran guys, young teams. There's no Spur on this team who knows how to. Let's just say it.
This is how to win.
Don't know how to win. I'm sorry. It's just it is what it is. I'm not making something up. You need a winner's mentality. Someone who's also won in the league. And these guys, look, I bring up Kevin Willis. Where did Kevin Willis come from, Rudy, right? He spent a long time in Atlanta, right? What do they do, right? Playoffs, right? Celtics, Pistons. For a good stretch in the late 80s, the Atlanta Hawks were a very good team.
Yeah.
Like Kevin came from that, right? So he's on the 20th, 2003 Spurs, and, obviously not playing, right? But that's what these players need, and we don't have veterans anymore. So, Rudy, I'm telling you, if anyone's listening, go look on the 80s, Rudy, right? 90s. Go look at those rosters. Seriously, go look at those rosters, and you're going to see people who know how to play. I'm talking about high basketball IQ guys that just know how to play the game. And that's what we're missing. This NBA now, you got guys jacking up 3-point shots. It's just a different. It's hard to watch sometimes, Rudy.
When did we ever back in the day? When did we ever hear announcers saying, oh, here he comes, Larry Bird pulling up from the logo, or whoever, Byron Scott pulling it up from the logo. I mean,
no.
Now it's almost common to see players jacking it up from the logo, or
it's
2 or 3 feet from behind the 3-point arc. Why? Because it's the cool thing to do, man. And it trickles down to the kids, bro. I hate going to games and seeing, kids doing this, and then
they're jacking up shots, Rudy. That's what it is.
Jacking up a 3 and then coming back and doing the, whatever with their hands and all this other stuff, or doing this, doing that. I mean, just play the fucking game, dude. That's really what it comes down to. I hate going to a lot of this stuff, man.
Yeah, it's jacking up shots, and it's just a different time. And look, I'm not saying that the NBA players are not skilled, because they are. I think there's some really good players out there who can play. I mean, Kevin Durant's still playing, and we know he can ball, but it's just a different, just a different time.
What's not crazy is the fact that you have guys who came out this past All-Star weekend, like Larry Bird, said he loves this style game. He loves it. He also understands that these guys probably couldn't compete in his era. They can compete. They just wouldn't have these ridiculous, astronomical scoring, marks at all. But
think about this, Rudy. David's 70, right? Like his 70-point game compared to some of the guys who've put up shots today. Rudy, they're shooting. I mean, Klay Thompson didn't have a quarter when he had like 33 points, Rudy.
Yeah.
It's just, man. And look, I hate to be that guy, Rudy. I hate to be that guy because I'm not that old, contrary to the belief. I'm still in my 30s, but I do remember 90s basketball very well. So it just comes to the point where it's a different time. I get it. It's an offensive journey. But Rudy, the commissioner, they got to sit down and think, hey, can we bring some more physical bring some physical stuff back. Just bring it back, man.
It's kind of funny as you bring that up, and that's actually going to be a topic that we're going to be talking about here in just a second. Let me get to this comment here. Jeff is saying there was a comment. So I did a show with Jeff. It was actually go and check out Locked On Spurs today. Jeff and I sat down and we talked about, Wemby being compared to Will Chamberlain, how is he comparable to him? And Jeff said one of the comments that was left on there for me was Kareem would be a better comparison than Wemby than Wilt. Kareem, yes, I think so. And I think what some fans are probably missing out was, Wilt's scoring record, like individual scoring record for a game at 100 points. And, if you remember, Kareem was one of the premier shot blockers in the game. He was a great defender. But Wilt came in at a time where he just dominated. Now, Kareem was dominant, but when you kind of look at both sides, Kareem and Wilt, and the eras are different. Wilt was playing against guys that were way shorter, and Kareem did have some guys that he was playing against that were kind of his height. So it's kind of hard to say, man. But the Kareem comparison to Wemby, I have no problem with that at all. I think Wemby will be able to score at will whenever he developed. Like I said, our biggest thing, and Derek and I mentioned it yesterday, was if he was to spend a whole summer with Akeem and just working on his footwork and getting that, face the basket and just knowing what to do before he does it type of offense. Good God, man. Wemby could be averaging a whole lot more in this league.
Well, we talk about Hakeem, right? And one of the great assets of his game, Rudy, was Hakeem's counters, right? Like,
yeah,
the ability to counter was just simply amazing. For you youngins who are listening, go put on some Olajuwon, videos and just see really his counters. You go here, and you probably went there because you thought Hakeem would do that, and then he does something completely different. So if Wemby's counters could just, and granted he's already tall as it is, right? He's taller than Hakeem Olajuwon. So just imagine his game like that, just adjusting, countering different. Because really, let's be fair, he won't be going up against any great centers besides Jokic and Embiid, Karl-Anthony Towns, right, and a few other guys. I mean, every night he's a mismatch, right? He's not going up against these guys every night. So I think this offseason very important to be in the gym. Also, Wemby, go eat some more tacos, put on a little bit more weight, right? Go to some of those San Antonio eateries. I know they're there because I've been there, and put on some pounds, buddy.
Yeah, it definitely needs to hit the not necessarily the weight room, but maybe get a little bit more. And by all means, I was a great big fat person back in the day, and I still kind of am a great big fat person. I can definitely show him where and when to eat. This is Sweet the League, part of the Alamo City Podcast Network. Go to YouTube, search Alamo City Podcast Network, smash that subscribe button. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Adam Silver says he wants to maybe change the way the offense is working in the NBA. Kind of to a point to what Gio was making here. Something's got to change. This is Sweep the League. We'll be right back.
It's got to change, man.
There.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, that is Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs. Again, it's at Jeff G Spurs Zone on the X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Twitter. I don't know why people, it's hard to call. When you would say Twitter, Gio, you like retweet, all this stuff. But what do you say with X? Like,
I still, with my friends, I still say Twitter. I don't even.
It's hard for me to even get, something. I don't know, man. I have no idea. And of course, this ass right here has to drop the super chat. So Coach Gio's basically paying his own salary here. I'm mentioning.
Hey, I'm paying everybody on Sweep the League this month.
He's basically paying his own salary at 28 for the 28-3 comment. We like to thank the coach himself, for dropping a super chat to remind me that 28-3 will exist forever in my mind.
Really, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're 85 years old, someone might say that something, the number 28, and you're automatically going to think
28-3.
Now, if the Falcons go on to win a Super Bowl, which really it's still possible. Like
when
it's
never.
Look, no one thought the St. Louis Rams would win a Super Bowl, and look, they won one. Actually, got to two. So really, it's very possible. Is Raheem Morris the guy that's going to take you there? I don't know yet, but we'll find out.
But the Rams have more than just one Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, we have, I believe, 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah. And
then probably NFL championships. I don't freaking know. But yeah,
I mean, it could be worse. Could be the Buffalo Bills, 4-time Super Bowl runner-up.
Rudy, so if anyone's listening, which I know there is, go watch the Buffalo Bills doc on Netflix. It talks about their 4 trips to the Super Bowl. And Rudy, to lose 4 straight Super Bowls, I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit tougher pill to swallow. Tim is talking about a restaurant he'll take Wimby to in Hondo, Texas. What is that restaurant? I've got friends that live in Hondo. They actually have a burger, Billy Bob's Burgers in Hondo. I've never been, but I've heard that's actually a pretty good place. I need to go visit Hondo again, visit friends out there at Hondo. Let me know the name of that restaurant, Tim. I'd like to know which restaurant that is. But before we went, Gio, we were talking about Adam Silver. Let's get this screen shared here. NBA Central, bring him up. Boom. So Adam Silver, the NBA Competition Committee has officially begun reviewing whether the game has become too advantageous for offense and whether some changes need to be implemented to achieve better balance. So, yeah, there's too much offense, man. Everybody loves, like Tom Glavine and Greg Maddox said, chicks dig the long ball. I get that. But there's only so many home runs you can hit. There's so many points you can score in an NBA game before it just gets boring and unwatchable. And right now, it's pretty boring and unwatchable for me.
No, it's
something's got to change, dude.
Look, I'm not saying bring the hand check rule back, or bring that back. But look, you got to figure out a way, Rudy. These teams are putting up. I mean, didn't Cat have did he have like a 44-point quarter, Rudy? Or it's just
it was something ridiculous.
Yes, something ridiculous stat. I mean, Klay Thompson obviously you got to implement some defense here, something to stop these games. It's not going to stop people from jacking up shots because we see that every night with the Spurs. But you need some sort of rules to where you can implement something. Have some physicalness. Not to have Draymond be the only guy who's an enforcer. And by the way, if I was playing in the NBA and Draymond tries some stuff like that on me,
you're just talking. You wouldn't do nothing.
I'm telling you, Rudy.
Would not do anything.
I'm telling you. When I used to play ball, I was more of a physical kind of guy. Rebounds, block shots. I've thrown some bowls. I've gotten into some heated matchups in street ball basketball. I'm telling you right now, that would not fly with me. The reason why Draymond does this, Rudy, is because no one's cocked him during the freaking games. Boom. No one's done that before. He punched his own teammate. Nobody didn't do anything, Rudy.
Well, remember, everybody's friends in today's thing.
Yeah, but anyway, back to this stuff. Yeah, Rudy, we need something, man. And I think it would really help the game. Not only the today's game, Rudy, but we talked about it. You talked about it. The young kids coming up, right?
Yeah.
We need to change. I'm tired of seeing centers jacking up threes and no one's guarding nobody. And it's going to change the game if they allow more defense to really, I guess you can allow more essentially. But yeah, Rudy, it's time. I mean, it's already been time.
It has been time.
Oh, too late. If David Stern was here, I do think David would have done something.
Well, I mean, the quickest fix to today's game is bring back the hand check.
Okay.
Bring it back where you can body a player to an extreme. Now, I mean, obviously, you're not going to just run full into their legs like they did, in last night's Detroit New York game, and no call was made. Again, another idiotic missed call by the officials. But nonetheless, bring back being able to body a player, hand check a player. Because, again, if you're able to get up on a player like James Harden may struggle to get his shot off. He's going to do a lot more dribbling. When you do a lot more dribbling, you have more potential to fumble the ball. A player like Steph Curry, if you're able to just check him when he's coming off of a screen, or like Stockton used to do, just kind of body him under the basket before he moves, that shit hurts, Gio. It hurts. So it's going to make your shooting probably dip a little bit because, Jesus Christ, I just got elbowed in my arm. It hurts. It's going to hurt going up. This is the part of the NBA where we miss. I mean, they wanted more scoring. They got it. Now they want more defense.
Yeah, well, I think that's the start.
Jeez.
You bring that back. Rudy, you could really, using that hand, right? I mean, you could do a lot. You could really guide someone to where you want him to go, right?
Bingo.
Especially moving guys, funneling zone defenses, or not zone defense, but really putting people where you want them to be. You bring that back, man, you can start really changing the game. And now you're going to make offensive players think, okay, we're going to have to change, right? Jacking up threes isn't going to necessarily be the thing. I think long-term wise, but I still think we're a long ways away, Rudy, from bringing. If they bring back the hand check, I mean, that would be interesting, Rudy.
Well,
very interesting.
Well, you made the point. We brought it up on yesterday's show where you had defenders, a la Alvin Robertson, Joe Dumars, because we were talking. Okay, if you were to put like Steph Curry back in the day, one of these guys, Joe Dumars, I mean, the first person to come to mind would be there to shut him down, any type of player like that. And that's where, or John Morant with the talk. Who would, back in the day, would John Morant be able to be successful back in the day? I mean, the answer is no, because a guy like Joe Dumars, a guy like Michael Cooper, these guys were able to, like you just mentioned, and Derek brought up the same point, you're able to put your hand where you want them to go the opposite way. So you're guarding them this way, they're going to go left, they're going to go right. You're able to guide them where you want to go. And that's where a lot of these players today would probably be unsuccessful. Now, I'm not being negative about it. They would have adjusted. They would have adjusted.
Well, yeah, and we've talked about players coming in and adjusting. Rudy, back then, and look, I feel like we sound like the old guys here, but like back then, right? A lot of guys could guard multiple positions. We talk about. Let's talk about Dennis Rodman, Rudy. I think one of the great defensive players ever, especially his days in Detroit. He could guard 1 through 5. He was athletic, probably one of the more athletic guys ever in NBA history. When he got to San Antonio, I mean, this is Chicago, he definitely bulked up. But, man, Dennis back in those days, Rudy, I mean, just athletic, could run, defense. Imagine Dennis, young Dennis. There's no way John Morant's getting past him. There's no way. I just don't.
Unless Dennis can't touch him, which is the rules for today. I mean,
yeah. I mean, today's rules. But back then, Rudy, he's biting him up.
Yeah.
I mean, you got defensive players of the year, Sidney Moncrief, Michael Cooper. I mean, Hakeem. I mean, it's just Gary Payton, the glove, right? I mean, these defensive guys would the offense today, they'll have to adjust. So they're looking to adjust and really having to again change their game because of the rules.
So you're basically saying that we both in agreement that hand checking is the way to go. Allow hand checking again because you're able to body a player. And does that mean scoring goes down? I
believe scoring will probably go down, right? Hand checking was banned, 03, 04-ish?
Yeah.
Sometime around those early 2000s, and then we did see an uptick in points. So yeah, Rudy, I mean, you're going to see that, and also you're going to see maybe a more physical style play, which means you might see more players sitting out, Rudy. There's pros and cons to this, right? A more physical style with today's NBA players. Back then, I mean, look, Michael played 82 games. I mean, Rudy, a lot of guys played a lot of games. I mean, Mike played, he would never barely sit out. It's like
he was injured, and even when he was injured, he'd play, but he would have to actually have, severe, like a grade 2 sprain.
Yeah, I'm saying like
something
if
like
those
that.
guys were out, David, Patrick, some of the great players, you knew it's because there's a reason, not because a rest day, right? So you might be opening up another Pandora's box, which the NBA already has an issue with that already, with people missing games, a la Kawhi Leonard, and though Kawhi's obviously more healthier this year. But yeah, Rudy, I think if you bring back the hand checking, and that's probably the biggest one, right? I'm trying to think of other rules that
you cannot implement a zone because these guys are shooters. I mean, the way to beat a zone is to shoot the ball and attack the zone, with inside. So
it's
kind of
probably
a hard thing to do.
It's probably hand checking, Rudy. I don't know. You have to start there, and then that's the rule. Because Rudy, if they bring that back, you're gonna see, and you may have more. Because remember, we don't have a lot of defensive enforcers anymore. Like,
no,
give me sure we have two-way players, right? Paul George, Kawhi is a good defender as well, but Rudy, the days of really good defensive players who know their roles, just playing defense. Today's rules don't let you do that.
No, dude.
Plus, guys are jacking up shots way too far for you to even play defense. So, but Rudy, it's going to be interesting next few years to see what the NBA does, because I do think the NBA is feeling the heat. They see it, Rudy. They see the comments. They see people saying, hey, today's game is sometimes a bit unwatchable. And hand checking, if they bring that back, like I said, I would. You're starting to bring something that was a key to a lot of defensive teams back in the day. So,
yeah, no, and it's funny because Jacob, he drops a smiley face because we're talking about Kawhi Leonard, and I've admitted, a lot of times, I'll admit it again, when healthy, Kawhi's the best player in the game. I mean, best two-way player. He's an MVP candidate year in, year out.
He's a rare breed. And look, I know he had his issues in San Antonio, but when you put the tape on, what does your eyes tell you?
We'll never know what happened in San Antonio.
No, I know. There's a lot of, smoke and stuff going on that, look, his uncle was a big factor, blah, blah. Whatever the case may be, listen, I've forgiven. I have no ill will towards Kawhi. I think he's a really good player. And if he wants to come back to San Antonio, I wouldn't have an issue.
Honestly, me neither. But I was actually one of the guys that would dog him back in the day for leaving. And I think that was when in my low point of life type of days back in the day, when I just would like to shit on everybody. And Kawhi just so happened to be one of the guys I used to like to shit on too. So I've grown up since those days.
Wait, not physical shit.
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure this podcast wasn't headed towards
not the rated R days, not the rated R days back in the day. Charles Oakley against Draymond Green in the 80s. I mean, physicality.
Charles
physicality. I think Draymond gets injured every time he plays Detroit back in the day. I mean, but then again, I mean, Draymond, I don't know, man. He's probably the toughest guy in the league right now. I mean, he could probably handle his own from back in the day when it came to physicality, especially against the bad boys.
Really, the quote unquote NBA enforcers, which I think every team should have one guy who's out there and just boom, right? Just giving you that elbow. Really, that's a dying breed. The NBA enforcers, right? Charles, the Davis twins, Bill Laimbeer,
Rick Mahorn.
Rick Mahorn. Charles Barkley would also get into fights. Anthony Mason, Xavier McDaniel is another guy. I mean, the list goes on. There was always guys on every team that would come in there, and literally, Rudy, they came in just to fight, like literally just to fight someone, right? To get into a scuffle, get them kicked out. Charles Barkley always said it. He says there was a hell of a lot of NBA players coming in there trying to start shit with him, and Charles has swung at players in the past. I mean, Rudy, we had that unfortunate incident with Rudy Tomjanovich, right?
Kermit Washington.
Rudy, he literally, if you guys don't know about the incident, go look up a video. It's pretty graphic.
It's terrible.
It's a terrible light. I don't agree with that type of stuff in the NBA, but those are the type of guys that you had that every night you knew, Rudy, going down the middle of the paint, that you were going to have to bring your lunch pail because you knew it was going to be a long night, especially 100%. Playing the Pistons. You're going to be a physical brand.
100%, man. We're gonna take a quick commercial break on the way. On the flip side, we got a little bit more Sweep the League here. We're gonna talk NFL. We got some Justin Jefferson news that I think has been squashed, but we're gonna talk about it anyway because once it's out there, it's a possibility. And then also some quick draft stuff going into Thursday because we have the mock draft guy himself coming on to Sweep the League on Thursday. We'll be right back. It's Coach Gio. It's Rudy Campos Jr. It's Sweep the League.
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Leha, MCS General Contracting. Appreciate you being a sponsor of the Alamo City Sportscast. Again, I mean, we're going to talk about some NFL before we get out of here. Again, we came out late, so thank you, everybody, for coming on. Appreciate you being patient with us, but a computer's a computer, and sometimes computers just suck, man. Justin Jefferson news, man. I mean, we're talking – let me see if I have it here. I know I've got it somewhere here for you.
Yeah, it's a trade potentially for multiple draft picks to – drum roll – the Kansas City Chiefs, Rudy. Just imagine Justin Jefferson in a Chiefs jersey.
It's not going to happen.
Rudy, if it did,
it's not going to happen.
Talk about fantasy football. Talk about just think about what he did with Justin Jefferson. Think about what he did there.
Yeah.
With Kirk Cousins, and that's Kirk Cousins, no disrespect to him, but that's Kurt. Pat Mahomes and that offense with potentially adding, because they need more. Listen, Tony's gone, Rudy. We can agree that guy isn't coming back with the Kansas City Chiefs. And there are other receivers there. Hardman could be back, may not. I mean, Hardman was with the Jets, Rudy. He got let go and then signed with the Chiefs. Sky Moore, huge disappointment.
The only guarantee is Rashee Rice, is it?
Well, Rudy, just about Rice, Justin Jefferson, and whoever else they're going to pick up in the offseason with Travis Kelce, Pacheco, Clyde was here. Rudy, it's a pipe dream. What are your thoughts, though? Seeing Jefferson, if he was, what does that mean for that offense and Andy Reid?
So it falls to one thing. Now, do I think he goes to Kansas City? I don't think so. I mean, there's nothing that Kansas City has outside of one of their stars to trade in return for the Vikings. If I'm Minnesota, I'm not looking for draft picks from Kansas City because why, Joe? They're not going to ever be top 10, top 15. I mean, they're not. Let's be real. You're going to say, well, I can give you the next 4 years worth of first round picks for Justin Jefferson. Awesome. I'm picking 30. So I'm picking 30th. I'm picking low 20s every single year.
Well, I mean, look,
makes no sense.
It's still a first round draft pick. I think it's different than the NBA. Like an NBA late 20, it's not a very good pick. But in the NFL already, there's been a lot of stars in that late first round draft pick. There's also a lot of busts as well. So it's a gambling, as no point intended to DraftKings. But Rudy, if it did happen. I don't think it is. And where did this come from? Do you know who started this? Because
No, it was
it's been crossing my timeline a lot lately.
So late last night, there was some mention that the Vikings were potentially, and I'm not going to pretend I know who said it or where I heard it from, but I was online and it came across and it says potentially taking calls on Justin Jefferson. And I think the reason why is because they have already a feeling that Kirk Cousins is out. He's probably going to end up being, and one destination they've already mentioned is Atlanta. Atlanta's a very possible landing spot for Kirk Cousins. That's ideally another landing spot has been Washington, have a reunion for Kirk Cousins, but for whatever reason, Atlanta's been a hot spot. So knowing that Kirk Cousins may not be a part of the factor anymore in Minnesota, that's probably why they're going to start taking calls on Justin Jefferson. Plus,
don't you still need a receiver though? I mean,
you have Jordan Addison. You have Jordan Addison there. I mean, do you?
So maybe they're thinking if they are taking calls because
they don't want to pay him.
Out might not. Yeah, and that's the thing. He is going to be. I mean, really, he's going to break another wide receiver market, right? Like he's going to be the highest paid. He should be. His production, on that team. If they don't want to. Look, I think the Chiefs, obviously, if they could get a deal done, there's obviously going to be other suitors. So, really, when we're talking about Justin Jefferson, right, another team that could use Mr. Justin Jefferson, I'm trying to think, obviously, cap space, right? That's obviously a big thing. But you can also, listen, Les Snead of the Rams has messed with the cap a lot. We've signed big free agents. No. I'm not saying Rams should sign. I'm just saying there are ways around not having any salary cap. Though the Saints, they ain't got no, they have no money. But really, all these teams who has all these
number 8. Keep an eye on number 8. If it was true, if it was a true rumor, keep an eye on number 8. You're talking about pairing Justin Jefferson with the likes of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Now, they can easily let T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd walk. And guess what, Gio? They're going to have predictably about $52 million in this offseason, projectedly. I mean, that's a team. Well, and again, it goes from the NFC to the AFC. So you're not going to have to ever deal with Justin.
I think, look, if Kirk goes to Washington, we could see a reunion there. The Washington's also trying to build. I mean, looking at the salary cap list, the Bears, imagine Caleb Williams with Justin Jefferson and what they already have there. Really, it's interesting. The Texans, they got money. Could that be obviously trades like this are always a little tricky. But could you see that the Texans, they got money? And just imagine young quarterback with Justin Jefferson and the team they already have. Jeez.
But again, do you want to pay? You're probably going to have to pay him. What do you think it's going to be? 25 a year?
No, he's going to have
30?
Over 30. Tyreek is already, I believe Tyreek's at 30. So
30. So you're potentially giving up almost half of your cap space for one player.
Well, and this is how I say you got to mess with the numbers, right? So the signing bonus, I believe, doesn't count against the cap. So you can obviously give him a bigger signing bonus. You can make this a big upfront contract and then obviously spread out. So there are ways nowadays, it seems like, where teams can really, but you also don't want to pay one guy all that money, but
especially if he's not your quarterback.
Exactly. Now, if he goes if somehow the Bengals, really, that'd be a damn cheat code because they already have T. Higgins on that franchise tag, or they include T. Higgins in a trade.
And that's what it's saying. They can send T back with draft picks. And again, Minnesota, I believe, is not one of the top. See, they are. They do have cap space. They're $38 million. So I think T's going to cost around 20.
Yeah, I think the franchise it should be around that. I don't know the numbers, but look, guys, this is just a pipe dream. I don't think
it is. It's a pipe
they're
dream.
going to ship. I just don't see why you would. obviously there's been rumblings. Are they going to pay him or they're not going to pay him? But look, the Commanders have money, Titans, Bears. I don't see him with any of those teams unless they have a quarterback situation. Detroit's interesting, Rudy. They're also a little scary having Justin Jefferson, Amon St. Brown.
But they won't. They won't. Knowing they've got to pay Amon St.
No,
Brown,
yeah. I'm saying like that doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, Tampa, Mike Evans could be out the door. Could be a replacement.
I think he resigns in Tampa. I think Evans stays in Tampa. The one team I'll give you is you have no idea what Michael Pittman Jr. is going to do. Now, Indianapolis sits at number 5 on the salary cap. They have Anthony Richardson, who I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson as a quarterback, but to potentially be able to pay a number 1 receiver, knowing you're going to need a number 1 receiver, I mean, the Colts are probably another team that's probably knocking on Minnesota's door.
Yep.
Because they're going to need a replacement for Michael Pittman Jr. I don't think Pittman Jr. stays there. The Texans makes a lot of sense. I don't see any of the top 4 teams taking a chance with Justin Jefferson.
It's just, I don't know. Look, and if you look at the bottom, some of the contenders, Kansas City, Green Bay already has like 50 receivers, it seems. I don't think they're going in that direction.
Green Bay doesn't need them.
Yeah, Green Bay doesn't need them. The Ravens, though, a team that doesn't throw obviously a whole lot, but if they want to give Lamar the best receiver or one of the best receivers in the game, then you can go out there and pull the plunge. But to me, Rudy, I think it makes sense for the Texans. I don't think the Bengals. I mean, look, you just franchise tag T. I just don't see doing the Cardinals. So look, the Cardinals are an interesting team, right? Because Kyler comes back, Rudy, or he was back, and he played okay down the stretch. But imagine Kyler with a Justin Jefferson and a team that I thought they played okay last year. Like, sure, they were bad, but they were competitive. I thought they were a team that didn't give up and they fought there. I mean, they beat Dallas. Not that that's for whatever that's worth, but so there are a lot of teams do the Browns are already paying somebody else. So yeah, I don't think this would be weird.
It's not going to happen. It's
as a Rams fan, I don't see this happening. If any Rams fans are listening, I just don't see that unless they. I'm not saying Cooper Kupp is on the market. It's probably going to be Coop. I wouldn't part ways with Puka. He's younger. Kupp's already been in the league for a while. If there's anything, maybe Kupp is the one that goes, and the Rams get if the Rams get Justin Jefferson, I know you're not going to be a very happy man.
I wouldn't care, to be honest with you. I mean,
well,
it wouldn't bother me.
You're definitely not going to give us 5 or 6 wins like you did last year.
I don't think I ever will live that part down, but
no.
I don't say outrageous stuff all the time. Just every now and then I'll say something like that. Honestly, yeah, I mean, this is a pipe dream. I don't think this is just all smoke coming out, because I really feel like Kirk Cousins is on his way out. So of course, if you're not going to have a quarterback to throw to Justin Jefferson, you're going to hear the rumblings. He's not going to want to be there. He's not going to get his stats. You may as well move on from him. I mean, there's just so many places he could go to be successful, because like you and I talked one day already, out of the top 10 teams, let's be honest, there's probably 3 or 4 that could win us that are potential Super Bowl candidates. I mean, that you can insert a player or 2 and you've got to consider them a threat. So that's why,
Rudy,
this offseason is going to be huge.
If the Falcons get Kurt and Justin, are you betting the wet? Do you bet a little bit, or?
I'll bet they win the division. I don't bet that they'll win the Super Bowl. The Falcons are more than just a quarterback and a wide receiver one.
I don't know. I think they're a quarterback away, at least from making the playoffs. I think we can agree on that, because
they're a quarterback win away from making the playoffs, but from winning the division. I would say that they're a quarterback away from winning the division now,
because they've been 7-9 the last few years.
Yeah, and it's
7 whatever the hell it is now.
It's little mistakes by your QB that is causing riffraff.
Desmond Ridder. Listen, I think he's a good kid, and I think he's played well, Rudy. But that Saints game, I was just like, now the defense played bad too, but
yeah. I'd rather bulk up on the defensive side, man. Go out and get your luxurious need. I mean, get a nice little shot.
That would be nice. That would be a good start to a team that I think. Listen, I think Atlanta, if they get a quarterback, if they get Kirk Cousins, I do think they got a good shot to win that division. Because honestly, Baker Mayfield, who knows? Maybe he has a sophomore slump. Carolina, we know what the hot mess is over there.
They're like years away from competing.
And the Saints, don't get me started on the Saints. I think they have a fraud head coach. So who's just a defensive coordinator masquerading as a head coach. That's all he is.
No, you heard it here first, man. He's a defensive coordinator masking as a head coach.
He is, Rudy. Come on, he's no damn head coach, Dennis Allen. Come on.
I never said he was a head coach, to be honest.
He's not a head coach. I'm surprised that he's still the head coach there. I just don't see it. Sure, you want to keep the program, the stability, all that stuff. He was with Sean Payton, this and that. But at the end of the day, he's not winning anything there. I'm sorry. He's just another, not a Jag. That's just another guy. But yeah, I guess you could say that.
Man, so basically, the last thing I want to get into is we've got the mock draft guy himself on from X. He's going to be on Thursday with us. We're going to talk a lot of NFL draft on Thursday. I know a lot of people are actually looking forward to that draft show on Thursday. So we'll be talking to mock draft guy himself. Get your draft questions in to me or Gio. You can tweet at us or X at us, however you want to call it. Any questions you have, we're going to put up a little post up there so people can comment on there to drop your questions on there. All your draft questions are going to be good. But the one question that I think you and I want to know, and just give me a simple answer because we got to go here, is the Chicago Bears. They hold all the cards in this draft. And
you do.
I mean, I say you keep Justin and you build around him with what you have, trade down, get more draft assets. And you know what? DJ Moore agrees with me and, a lot of people. He feels Justin Fields is that quarterback that can get him there. You roll your eyes, but I think a DJ Moore with Malik Neighbors / Marvin Harrison combo would be really good for Justin Fields. Maybe throw in a Joe Alt in there as a top 10 pick to help with the line.
Maybe Brock Bowers, they get a tight end.
It could be. And Brock Bowers is another guy who I am high but low on. I mean, I can see him going in the top 5 all the way down to, he could be a late first-round pick.
And look.
It's so hard.
If Brock Bowers is there, hey, Sean McVay, if you're listening, listen, Tyler Higbee unfortunately messed up his knee because some of the dirty plays that Detroit was doing. But look, go get Brock Bowers if he's there. Sorry, Rudy. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, you by all means can say whatever you want, and
Rudy, the Bears, they hold the cards, right? A blue blood, right? A franchise who is, when you think of the NFL, you think of Pittsburgh, the Giants, not so much the Falcons, but you think of these old style teams back in the day, the Bears. Look, Rudy, me and you have gone back on this for months. This past year, we've gone back and forth. And it's come, obviously, the Bears now have the number 1 pick. What should they do? I'm split here because I see what you're saying, right? Draft capital is always a good thing, right?
Oh, yes.
Get those picks, trade that number 1 pick. But, man, so this is the thing, and we talk about, it also matters where you get drafted, right? What team drafts you, right? Pat Mahomes, right? If Pat Mahomes goes to the Carolina Panthers, does it work out? I don't know, right? It's possible it doesn't work out, but he goes with Andy Reid. If Caleb Williams goes to the Bears, listen, the Bears have had a tough stretch of quarterbacks. The last decent quarterback was Trubisky, and then before that, Jay Cutler. I mean, not a lot of hope.
Trubisky in the same sentence as good quarterbacks.
Well, Rudy, listen, 2 playoff appearances, say what you want to say. If that doink doesn't happen, who knows? Maybe they're going to run. But look, I'm torn because I think Caleb could be that guy. I think he's that generational type player. I know you hate that word, and especially the way I'm using it with Caleb Williams. But, man, I think Caleb Williams' talent level man, like I get trading draft picks, but if you get that quarterback in there, your life could change. It could change, and I'm torn. I'm leaning towards drafting Caleb, but I do understand about getting those draft picks. But Rudy, how many years has Justin Fields been with the Bears? You're telling me you've seen enough? Is that what you're telling me? You've seen enough to give him one more year?
Yes. I think he deserves one more year. And the reason being is that you see the roller coaster with Justin. You see the ups, you see the downs, you see him just leveling off. But again, I feel like the end of the year that he had this past season, knowing I'm the Bears, knowing I have a lot of draft capital still, knowing I have the number one pick where I can go from this much draft capital, Gio, to this much draft capital. Like I can do a whole lot.
No,
Am I gonna miss out on a generational talent? Probably. I don't think, I mean, Caleb Williams is not generational for me. He's not even, like I said, I can name better quarterbacks in this draft than Caleb Williams, in my opinion. Just from what I'm seeing on tape. But if you feel he's a generational talent, take your chances. But I guarantee you, those draft picks and that capital that you're going to have is going to outweigh Caleb Williams in the long run. But hey, my question is Justin Fields better than Caleb Williams? Is Caleb Williams better than Justin Fields?
Well, you already know what I'm going to say. Caleb is better than Justin. And I know Justin's running ability. I know he can run. I mean, he had that 1 year, Rudy, where his rushing yards were out of this world. But Rudy, you're not going to win a lot of games just running the ball. Like we see Lamar right now. Lamar tried to be a pocket passer against the Chiefs and it didn't work out, and they should have ran the ball. But normally your quarterbacks aren't rushing. But Rudy, I just think the arm talent, and look, when Justin Fields came in, you know, he's at Georgia, and oh my God, what a Kirby. You didn't do a lot of things wrong, but that's one thing you should have went with Justin Fields. But anyway, Ohio State played well, had some games up and down. Obviously, Caleb has been that way as well, but I think Caleb, Rudy, is right now better than Justin Fields.
So Caleb Williams, you saw the issues he had at USC with a bad offensive line. Do you really think you're going to have a rookie quarterback come in? And you're basing this off of what you saw with CJ Stroud. Let's be 100% honest. Everybody feels that Caleb Williams is better than CJ Stroud coming into this draft. And you're thinking we could hit gold with Caleb Williams. There is nobody on this Bears roster on the offensive side other than DJ Moore, who is basically going to do anything for you.
Just like Stroud, he also has talent. The Bears do this, they know, and I hope they know they need to get the receivers, offensive line needs to continue to improve. They need to do something in the offseason. If you get Caleb, it's the responsibility, not just of Caleb to obviously perform, but management to get the job done, give him the pieces to be successful. If you're going to get Caleb, look, I'm saying generational, but as generational as Peyton Manning was, he threw a lot of picks his first year, Rudy. He didn't do anything. He had Marshall Faulk, right? And then he had Endrin James, and then what? They built that team around him. But look, if you're a generational guy, you also need help. I mean, let's not be, mistaken here. He needs help.
Well, no. Look at this. Let me paint this scenario here for you. You're the Chicago Bears. You are sitting with the third most available cap space at $80 million plus. Okay,
Jesus Christ,
$80 million, 800 something thousand in free agency money you can go play with. Let me paint this picture for you. You keep Justin Fields. You make some trades. You get a lower number one pick. Say, you know what? Okay, say you go crazy. Say Caleb wants to go back to Washington, where he's from. The Commanders trade up. So you just swap picks there. You get some additional draft capital. You're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors at 2 is what you're looking at. So you've got DJ Moore across from, either Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Let's just say one of the young receivers. You still have your other pick, I think, at 9 coming up. So you're probably going to go offensive line. What is the one position that we've heard time and time again from NFL executives that's not a priority this season? That is running back, Gio. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard. A lot of these guys are not priorities in this off season. They're going to get paid, but they're not a priority. They're not going to get franchise tagged. For the most part, these guys are going to walk. So with that kind of cap space, you mean to tell me you have Justin Fields with 2 receivers, and if you want, go get you a Brock Bowers at 9. I don't care. Whatever. Do what you want, or get another offensive lineman, Joe Alt or somebody like that. But then you go and get a Saquon or an Austin Eckler that helps provide more help for Justin.
I completely agree. But the Bears are going to have to make a decision, because if they do all that for Justin and he's still not successful,
then you're done. But what does that do, man? It attracts another top-tier quarterback, because who wouldn't want to go play for the Bears knowing you have the weapons in place?
It's a lot of windy games and cold weather. But no, look, Rudy, I can agree with you. Look, you build a team, draft picks, capital.
They will come.
So you do all these things, and you're ready to build it, it will come. But you also may lose. Someone could lose their job.
Nobody,
if they have a bad,
never saw in there anyway.
So I hear you, and look, I wouldn't listen if the Bears, whatever they do, I agree with. But really, like I said, also, just because you spend the money don't mean you're spending it on something good. So we'll see how this offseason wraps up, because it's going to heat up soon, Rudy. It's just around the corner. I'm sure you're excited about the Falcons. I'm excited about the Rams having some cap space as well.
I'm excited to get to the offseason already.
For all you Rams fans. And also, baseball season is very close as well. I'm excited. I'm hoping that the Seattle Mariners potentially can win the division. But unfortunately, Rudy, the Astros have been a really pain in the thorn. And now you have the Rangers, who are defending champs. So how are your Giants going to shape up this year, Rudy, real quick before we leave? What are you thinking?
Thank God the show's over. No, I think honestly, the Giants have always been probably average, above average. They surprised me last year for the most part. I mean, they were in the playoff hunt, pretty much throughout the year to the very end. Again, I think it's just the same thing. It's just going to be another ho-hum season. I don't see anything potentially big with the Giants this year. They still got to develop some of the prospects that they have. What would have made the deal for me was if Shohei would have went to San Francisco, which was a very possibility. It was a very good possibility. Yeah. But without Shohei there, honestly, Gio, they need to contact the Angels about Trout. Everybody needs to get Trout. The guy doesn't want to leave.
That's interesting. If I'm the Angels, if I'm the Angels, dude,
you force him. You
force him out. Just say, hey, but you know what, man? Go do some. We're not winning here. We're not doing anything. You want to be a loser your whole life? Go somewhere else. I don't understand. That whole thing is just so odd to me that Trout needs to say, hey, let me leave. Go somewhere. No,
it's not Trout, because Trout has come out and said he wants to be an Angel for life. He doesn't want to leave.
That's the thing. Yeah.
He wants management to bring players in. Brother, they've brought players in and they still haven't won. So if I'm the organization, I'm looking at Mike and say, brother, I appreciate all you've done. You're one of the best players in the league. We're going to move on from you. I know you don't want to be traded, but we need to get something in return for you while we still can, because we ain't getting nothing for you if you're starting to decline.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's it. Trout is, I've always, dude, like, don't do the whole Dame Lillard thing. Just leave. It's okay. You didn't win. It's fine. Exactly. Okay. So, but no, the Giants, baseball season's a long season. So you never know. Maybe the Giants go on a run and, you can wear your Giants jerseys, your Barry Bonds hat, so.
I do have my Buster Posey jersey. I'll probably wear one time soon here. Shout out to Buster Posey. But yeah, Giant season. Baseball season is right around the corner, man. We're going to be done here at Sweep the League. Hey, by all means, go to the YouTube page. It's search Alamo City Podcast Network. Smash the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can give something away. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Tomorrow, Derek Irvin should be back. Myself, I think Gio should be back as well tomorrow. We're going to be talking again more NBA hoops, man, because everybody loves talking hoops with Derek Irvin. Thursday, we got another explosive show. We got the mock draft guy coming up on Thursday. All your draft questions, all your draft analysts, you guys out there that have comments or questions, be sure to drop them on a post that we're going to put for Thursday's show. And then Friday, it's Flashback Friday. So for Gio, it's Rudy Campos here until we sweep the league again next time. We'll see you later, Knuckleheads.